like to start by saying I support the goal of ensuring we have passenger train service available, and we should continue to grow that. It's important in my area. I'm in Pennsylvania, sort of central, southeast Pennsylvania, Keystone Line, travel on a regular basis, and then travel here on a regular basis as well. I do have questions, Mr. Anderson. I have concerns about what is happening with the arrangements with Amtrak and SEPTA in the southeast Pennsylvania region. I know that federal law encourages Amtrak to make agreements with the private sector in order to maximize revenue and reduce reliance. We expect you to try to increase revenue where you can, but do you consider public commuter railroads to be private entities?
No.
Can you tell me a little bit about your view of the dispute with SEPTA in southeast Pennsylvania then?
Yeah, historically, they basically used a lot of Amtrak stations and real estate for free, and that lease is up. And under federal statute, we're not supposed to cross-subsidize commuters, and it's pretty clear. And so it's been submitted to the Surface Transportation Board. All we really have to have out of that is to make sure there's no cross subsidies. And we tried to work with SEPTA to negotiate that. I actually think SEPTA does a really good job, and it's a well-run railroad.
I think both Amtrak and SEPTA are very, very important to the region. But I think what you're attempting to do is impose rent.
Pardon?
I think what you're attempting to do is impose rent on stations that Amtrak owns but are really only serviced by commuter railroads. Wouldn't co-development agreements with the commuter railroads be a more effective way to generate revenue while preserving and improving critical commuter rail service on which our communities rely?
You know, in theory, that would be true, but I just don't know the answer to your question. I could go do some research on it, but I don't know specifically about co-development agreements with SEPTA. But yeah. I mean, we've done some with the Paoli station's a great example of a great success with SEPTA. So I'm hopeful that through the STB process, we've had a great relationship with SEPTA for a very long time. It's had very strong management. They run a very good railroad. I'm hopeful that through this STB process that we'll get this resolved in a reasonable way for both of us.
Yeah, I mean, I think rather than just move public dollars back and forth, again, these are both public agencies benefiting the public with federal dollars. So I think rather than moving those dollars back and forth, I'd like to see us clarify the law to exclude public transportation agencies from Amtrak's responsibility to maximize its revenues. And even maybe perhaps another idea, better yet, would be for Amtrak to transfer to SEPTA those stations which Amtrak is no longer using. Would that make sense?
At one time, there was, under previous administration, maybe a year and a half ago, some conversation about the state buying those stations from us. But, I mean, Chairman Lipinski has the same issue with Metra. We're not, you know, statutorily, we have a lot of rules, and you can see that there are states that don't like them because, and we have high costs, right? So there's always a tug of war. Oregon has to pay more, a JPA in California has to pay more, because the 209 of PREA is very clear in terms of how its structure works and how we are not to cross-subsidize across commuter lines. And we do a lot of work for commuter railroads, Sound Transit, Metro in LA, we run all their trains, Connecticut, and we're very careful about apportioning these so that the 209 states don't end up with a subsidy. So it's complex.
It is. It just doesn't make sense to me that we have this continued ongoing dispute between both agencies. I'm certainly willing to work with you in any way that we can if we need to clarify anything in the law itself or if we can find other resolutions. So thank you.
That's a reasonable request.